Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. My name is Lollipop and today we have a surprising update to the Trek Marlin lineup, which is the brand new 2024 Trek Marlin 5 Gen 3. I didn't think this bike was going to be released anytime soon, but it's definitely a welcome bike in the range. So in this video, I'll cover all the changes to this bike from 2022, so you can see all the updates and decide if you want to buy the 2022 Gen 2 or the 2024 Gen 3 version of the bike. Now, if you haven't seen my video on the 2023 Trek Marlin 6, definitely check that out as well, since I explain a lot of details about the new Marlins there. And to make this video shorter, I'm just going to skim over some of those details and focus on the changes to the Marlin 5. I'll go over every single detail that has been updated for the Marlin 5 Gen 3, and I'll complete this table to highlight all of those changes in one place. So stick around to see these updates and subscribe to my channel and click on the bell icon so you can get notified whenever I upload new videos on these Trek bikes. For a brief background, the Trek Marlins are designed as beginner mountain bikes, but they can also be used as durable commuter bikes, since the frames on these models have mounts for a kickstand and for a rear rack. The Marlin 5 is one of the lower end Marlins, but is actually the most popular Marlin available because of its value at that lower price point. For this comparison video, I'm only going to talk about the parts on this bike that have been updated for the new Marlin 5, so if I do not discuss a specific component in this video like the suspension fork for example, it means that that part is the exact same one found on the previous Marlin 5, otherwise known as the Marlin 5 Gen 2. But enough background, let's start this comparison by glancing over that brand new Trek Marlin frame, which is the biggest upgrade for the new Gen 3 Marlins. I covered this in much more detail in my Marlin 6 video mentioned before, but I will quickly restate that both the old and new frames use alpha silver aluminum from Trek and have internal cable routing, but the new frame now has routing for an internal dropper post as well, which is a great feature to see. Another main difference is that the new Marlin frame now uses a through-skew axle in the rear to hold the rear wheel in place, and this is an improvement over the previous Marlins that use quick-release axles, since the through-skew is more stable and ensures that the back wheel is centered in the bike. The new frame also comes with a nicer chainstay protector to prevent chain damage on the frame, but overall the biggest upgrade is to the geometry numbers. I'll put up the main geometry figures on the screen right now in this little table so you can see the updates, but essentially the Gen 3 Marlin frame gives you more confidence while riding downhill, and it still puts you in a good enough seating position to climb uphill efficiently. I'll show the full geometry measurements on the screen right now as well, but it's an all-around improvement from Trek. But for the Marlin 5 specifically, we do have a lot of updates, and the first one is the price. The Marlin 5 Gen 2 is currently priced at $600 US, and the Marlin 5 Gen 3 has not officially been released in the United States yet, so I only have the official price in British pounds, but converting it to dollars puts it at around $700. Besides that, we have some amazing color updates. So the older Gen 2 bike comes in 4 different colors, which are a Volt to Miami Green Fade, Radioactive Red, Lithium Gray, and the color Azure. The new bike replaces all 4 of these colors with 4 new ones, including an awesome purple flip to Trek Black Fade, an Alpine Blue to Deep Dark Blue Fade, Matte Neaster Black with red accents, and a new Power Surge color. Okay, next let's talk about the parts. I'm going to get these smaller updates out of the way first. So the handlebar is the same model between the Gen 2 and Gen 3 bikes, but it is now wider in most sizes for better control while turning the bike, and it now also has a 15mm rise in most sizes, which provides a more comfortable upright seating position. The stem is also the same model, but the bikes just use different stem lengths in various sizes, and you can see the new bike uses shorter stems overall, which also helps keep an upright position while mountain biking. That is better for riding downhill. And next, the brakes have a small update as well, since they're the same model Tektro brakes, but the smaller sizes now have short reach levers to make them a little bit more comfortable for those shorter riders. And for some part upgrades or changes, the grips will be swapped out from the more ergonomic XR Endurance Comp grips to the more trail-oriented XR Trail Comp grips that are more cylindrical for better control. And the saddle is also swapped out from the pretty uncomfortable Bontrager Arvada seat to the Bontrager Verse short saddle, so that's a nice change to see since it is a bit more comfortable. Alright, but for some bigger changes, the first one is to the tires. The Marlin 5 Gen 2 uses Bontrager XR2 comp tires that are 30 TPI and 29 by 2.2 inches wide in most sizes, while the Gen 3 bike now uses a brand new line of Bontrager XT3 tires, and these are the XT3 comp tires, which are also 30 TPI, but they are wider at 29 by 2.4 inches wide for extra stability, and have a more aggressive tread pattern for better traction on trails. And actually, the last big change is to the drivetrain, which has been completely changed out from the Shimano Altus 2x8 drivetrain to the brand new Shimano Q's U4000 1x9 drivetrain. The Gen 2 Marlin 5 has 2 gears in the front crankset and 8 gears in the rear cassette for a total of 16 speeds, which gave it a great balance for both city and trail riding, but the new bike now simplifies it to 9 total speeds. Now, this could be a drawback for some people since you have less speeds to choose from while commuting or riding on the road, but a benefit is that the Gen 3 bike no longer has a front derailleur, so there's less moving parts that could potentially malfunction while riding, and less maintenance needed overall. Also, the Q's drivetrain is just newer, and I haven't personally tested it yet, but it does seem to have some new features to make it smoother and more durable, so the rear derailleur and the rear cassette on the Gen 3 Marlin are definitely an upgrade in terms of quality and durability. One small downside for the Gen 3 bike is that the Shimano Altus shifter on the Gen 2 bike does have the ability to shift 3 gears at once when going to an easier gear, while the Q's shifter on the Gen 3 bike only lets you shift 2 gears at a time, which really isn't a huge difference, but something to mention. And looking at the gear ratios on these drivetrains, the Marlin 5 Gen 2 does have harder gears for going faster, but the new bike does have easier gears for climbing uphill, making it more of a trail-oriented drivetrain than the Gen 2 version. And finally, Trek does have the official weights of these bikes listed on their website. So for a size medium frame, the Gen 2 bike weighs 30.81 pounds on average, while the Gen 3 bike goes up to 33.29 pounds, which is mainly due to the heavier Gen 3 frame. But those are all of the updates and changes to the Trek Marlin 5 for the brand new Gen 3 version. Here's the completed tables to highlight all of the specifics, but for my thoughts, this bike definitely has a lot of upgrades, which is pretty nice to see. But it may be a little bit bittersweet for some people since the Marlin 5 is now more trail oriented and is therefore not as good of an option for the daily commuter or for the city rider who wants to have just one bike to do it all. The tires are now wider and better for trail riding, but that makes them a little bit slower on the road, and the drivetrain is simpler for mountain biking, but once again that makes it less efficient on the road. I think overall the Marlin 5 Gen 3 is now the perfect beginner mountain bike, and it is absolutely awesome as that, but keep in mind that you will have to sacrifice some road riding features as a result. But that's it for this video. I'm excited to hear all of your thoughts on this new bike in the comments below, so share your thoughts down there along with your questions. And as always, thank you for watching, and remember to keep biking out there.